Hello guys, my name is Kim and today we're going to be talking about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And I'm sorry if you can hear howling outside, it is just my husky and he's just very excited that Star Wars Rogue One was amazing. So if you're new to my videos and my movie reviews, I do not do standard reviews because I tend to ramble a lot. It is more like a stream of consciousness that I've tried to put together into a layout. Because if this were a standard review, there would be Q, the reviewer would say how much they love Star Wars, how much they love Star Wars as a kid, everything that inspired them was by Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. Now I'm not gonna do that. Except that I will. I'm a 90s kid, so I was born in the 90s and I grew up watching the first, second, third episode of Star Wars. I thought they were fucking great as a kid. And now that I'm older and I can watch them back, I can see just physically how bad they are. But I had a little bit of help as a kid because my dad is a massive sci-fi fan. We're talking Star Trek, Star Wars, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, just everything ever that existed Star. So I grew up watching all of this, which did mean I got to watch episodes 4, 5, and 6 over and over and over again when I was younger. So does that qualify me, fanboys, to review this movie? I think so. So Rogue One, I found the plot, the characters, the pacing, everything was fantastic in this film, and I would give this probably an 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 to 9. I'm gonna go 8.5 because I'm being really harsh. So Rogue One is a darker Star Wars film, one that seems to be relatively untouched by greedy executives, which in this day and age is very hard to come by. So to those that are not Star Wars fanatics, this movie takes place almost hours before the opening sequence in Episode 4, A New Hope. And the plot of this film is a small group of rebels infiltrate the Imperial Archive database to get the Death Star plans. Now, in the Star Wars universe, we never really knew or understood how the plans were retrieved. But this, of course, played a massive role in destroying the Death Star in Episode 4. So this film is solely based about that. Now, I did not mention it previously, but in the title, we do have a spoiler review. So if you continue from here on, I will spoil the bejesus out of this film for you. So please pause it, go watch it, and come back. Now, I think a lot of us knew that none of these characters would survive. I feel like that had to happen to get the impact of what they've done for the galaxy. So looking at it from this perspective, it was basically a doomed mission, and in a ways it was a doomed film. But not doomed because it wouldn't do well, doomed because it knew all of the characters and backstories that they threw at you would just be obliterated because none of them would survive. So we're talking some serious pulling at every single heartstring that even existed within you. In some ways, I actually felt like this had a very sort of Halo Reach feel. We knew that none of these characters were going to survive, and it was just... It was heart-wrenching. So instead of blabbing on about everything, I've decided that I'm going to put things in two categories. I'm going to talk about the positives of the film, then I'm going to talk about some of the negatives of the film, because everything has positives and negatives, no matter how good it is. Now for positives, firstly, I want to talk about the morals of the rebels. And by the way, these aren't listed in any particular order, just in the order that I want to talk about them. I absolutely loved in this film just the questionable morals that they portrayed in this. It just really showed that everybody in this universe is human. You always kind of had that the Empire were the bad guys and the rebels were the good guys and the good guys could do no wrong, but there are just so many layers to good and evil. It can't just be that black and white. It just cannot. So I really love that this film actually showed some of the questionable things that the rebels did. They had to assassinate people and just do very horrible things in order to get ahead and sort of, you know, outfight the Empire. And of course the main character to represent this was Cassian. He of course had the set mission of killing Jyn's father, which he fortunately didn't go through with. But he did say later on he's just done some really terrible, horrible things that he just regrets, but they just had to be done. And sizing up Jyn as well, the heroine of this film, she's got flaws. She's got so many flaws. She's still a very strong character, but just the layers of her character just make her so much more interesting. So wrapping this all together, the morals of this just makes it just makes it more human, more real than any of the other Star Wars films that have ever come out. And this is including Episode 3, where Anakin basically killed a bunch of kids. I felt more in this film than I did in that particular scene, which is not saying much because I mean, come on, episode 3. The second amazing thing in this film was the flaw of the Death Star. Oh my god, for so many years people have been like, why the freaking hell is there a hole in the Death Star that if you shoot it, it blows up? It just does not make sense. But this film made sense. It was just a complete mind explosion. So Galen Erso, the father of Jin, created the Death Star, but the fact that he had to do it, he basically had to help create the Death Star because they would do it anyway. He had to be involved in this project so he could create this flaw to destroy it. It's brilliant. It is brilliant storytelling, it's brilliant fixing of problems, and the emotional layers of adding that to the story. So I absolutely love the way they did that. That was just brilliant, brilliant storytelling. Number 3, K2SO. Now, I think we've had our fill of funny droids and droids being like, ah ha ha, they're the laughing section of the film, but I feel like it's a little different with K2SO. At the beginning when he came in, I thought, oh my god, another goddamn droid that, you know, people are gonna create toys of them, people are gonna love the goddamn droid, I'm so sick of the droids. But if you think about it, we haven't actually had a speaking droid that's been funny. I mean, C-3PO has some moments, but mostly he's just an annoying son of a bitch, rather than someone that you can actually feel for. But K2SO just had such a sassy personality. I really, really loved him. And the fact that Alan Tudyk did it just makes it so much more cooler. And the last amazing thing I wanted to talk about is Darth Vader. I mean, we have to talk about Darth Vader. His appearances in this film were amazing, absolutely amazing. I was kind of shitting myself the first time we saw him. When Orson Krennic first arrived on Mustafar, the irony, the irony of that, I was beside myself. I was just laughing and nobody knew why. And then when Darth Vader appeared, I just thought, wow, the one place that was literally the worst time of his life is now his home. But yes, let's talk about that one scene. The one scene at the end that Darth Vader owns everybody. It was like a horror scene in that capsule. It was truly amazing. But what I did really love about that scene is the passing of the information, the passing of the plans going through the door and then finally going to Princess Leia. It was fun. It was so fun to watch. And I always crack up with Darth Vader. He's such a crazy guy. He's just so intense and badass and everything like that. But he's always too busy showing off than actually doing his job. Like, he never really gets in trouble with the Emperor. He's just like, oh yeah, whatever. But like, he shows off way too much when he could literally, he could have stopped them from getting that plan. I mean, he was just having too much fun. Sometimes he just gives no shit. So yes, Darth Vader scenes in this film were amazing, and I feel like they just put in the right amount. Because if he's always there, he's not as intimidating. In small doses, it's just like, shit. I can't pull my face away from it because it is Darth Vader. These are his scenes and he just commands a presence. So if you had him way more in the film, it just wouldn't, I just don't think it would have worked. And as always, we have to talk about the negatives. There are only a very few tiny nitpicky things that I want to talk about. Firstly is the pacing at the beginning of the film. Well, the pacing after Jin was grown up. So I feel like the introduction of characters at the beginning it just felt very jarring because it was suddenly like, Jin, now go Body, now go Cassian, now go Jin. Just the scenes were so like, I feel like spending a bit more time, even if it was 5 minutes on like each character and just letting it flow, I feel like it didn't need to be as choppy at the beginning. But after that beginning section, I never noticed any choppiness again. It was basically perfect from that point on. Secondly, I feel like we have to talk about the CGI. CGI faces and everything. Oh my god. So yes, we needed to have Tarkin in this film, but did he need as much screen time as he had? Because for me, the CGI on his face was so obvious and so distracting. It just really drew away from the plot and what they were doing in that scene, that all I was staring at was like his face and the movement of his face. He just looked like he was a character out of Beowulf. Like, he didn't feel real at all. But maybe if there was A, less screen time for him, or B, different shots so they weren't as close. I just feel like that would have been a much better idea. And also, I want to talk about Princess Leia at the end. Was a close-up of Princess Leia's face needed? I don't think so, because you know, when they handed her the plans and we just saw the back of her, that's what I thought they would stick with. And then she would say something, and then they would cut. But no, they showed her face. I feel like it wasn't needed. Like, we didn't need to have that. We knew what was happening. So I really wish they kind of just left it there and didn't go all full on, here's another CGI person. But they did. So that was another negative for me. And the last negative thing I want to talk about is Saw and his whole place. I mean, not his whole place. I just didn't really like the character of Saw. I just felt like he was very weird and out of place. Like, he just felt, and I think it was the way Forest Whitaker did his voice as well. It just felt so weird, and I felt uncomfortable when he was doing it, like as if, like, you know, I'm just waiting for him to like start laughing and be like, sorry guys, no, that was just a joke, let me try again. No, that was his actual voice. It literally sounded like someone had stepped on his throat, twisted his head around, and then asked him to speak, and that's the sound that came out. I just don't know what it is with characters and actors going for one particular style with a voice, and then the director going, yeah, you know what, that's exactly what we had in mind. No, it's not. Also, what the hell was with that tentacle sucking, mind reading monster? Why did we even need that? Like, I understand that Saw is so paranoid that he needs to know that Body was telling the truth and everything, but couldn't they have some kind of like mechanical device on his head to tell them? Why did they need some weird tentacle monster thing that was like literally the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life? I just wasn't needed, was so out of place. Everything about his thing was just like, can you not? I'm so glad when it blew up. And I will point out that the Death Star blowing up things and the way that they blew up, the visuals were fantastic. I should have put that in the positives, but I just remembered it then. My God, that was amazing. Basically, whenever the Death Star, like, you know, shot at something, I just wanted to see what the planet would look like being on the surface of the planet, and we finally got that. I was so excited. Those were the moments that I literally held my breath and was like, so those are literally the only flaws I saw in the film. Besides for that, it was so amazing. I had so much fun watching it. Have you guys seen this film? If you have, leave me a comment below. Let me know what you guys thought. Try to be a little nice about the spoilers in the comments, because some people just click on videos without looking at spoilers and they get spoiled. Trust me, it has happened to me. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you very, very soon. Goodbye.